Alexei has always been a man of science. He enjoyed his time reading books, exploring new technologies, and was respected in his academic community. His wife, Olga, was the complete opposite, outgoing, energetic, and a party animal. They had been together for 5 years, but recently Alexei noticed that Olga began to disappear more often in the evenings and paid less and less attention to him. One evening, when Olga once again said that she was going to meet her friends, Alexei could not get rid of an anxious feeling. He decided to talk to her best friend to find out what was really going on. Alexei couldn't just leave it like that. He decided to keep an eye on Olga to make sure that Anastasia's words were true. One evening, when Olga again said that she was going to meet her friends, Alexei quietly followed her. Hiding behind trees and parked cars, he saw Olga approach the restaurant and meet a man. Alexei recognized him. It was her colleague Sergei. They hugged and walked inside, holding hands. Alexei felt his heart clench with pain and anger. He stood nearby, hidden in the shadows, watching them through the window. Inside the restaurant, they laughed and talked, clearly enjoying each other's company. Sergei gently touched Olga's face, and she responded with a warm smile. Alexei felt tears welling up in his eyes, but he did not allow them to escape. When they left the restaurant, Alexei followed them to Sergei's car, where they hugged and kissed again. This was the last straw. Alexei realized that now he had all the evidence he needed. He walked home slowly, contemplating how best to handle the situation. He couldn't believe that the person he trusted the most would betray him so easily. The decision came to him along the way. He had to talk to Olga and find out what led her to this. He knew this conversation would be difficult, but he couldn't continue to live a lie. Olga returned home late in the evening, clearly in a good mood. Alexei tried to hide his true feelings and suggested spending the night together. Olga, unaware of his plans, agreed. When they started making love, Alexei behaved especially passionately and tenderly. Olga was completely relaxed and trusted him. In the midst of passion, he took out handcuffs from the drawer of the bedside table and, as if playfully, put them on her wrists, tying her to the bed. She laughed, thinking it was part of their game, but his tone changed abruptly. There was coldness and determination in his eyes. "Tell me about Sergei," he said demandingly, looking her straight in the eyes. Olga frowned, her cheerfulness evaporating. "What are you talking about?" She tried to get out. "No, Alexei, I'm really sorry," she sobbed. "I made a mistake. I got confused." Alexei shook his head, determination visible in his eyes. "No, Alexei, I'm really sorry," she sobbed. "I made a mistake. I got confused." Alexei shook his head, determination visible in his eyes. "This is not an apology, Olga. You deliberately betrayed me. Did you think I was too caught up in my books and research to notice? Why am I so naive that I don't understand? I trusted you, but you betrayed me." Olga fell silent. Her tears dried up. She realized that Alexei had figured her out. She could no longer play the victim. "What are you going to do?" she asked, her voice quiet and scared. Alexei came closer to her, his eyes burning with determination. "I'm going to leave you here for the night," he said. "I'll go think about what to do next. Maybe you'll finally understand what it means to be alone and vulnerable." He turned and headed for the door, leaving Olga tied to the bed. She started screaming in panic. "Alexei, please, don't leave me here. Please forgive me." But he didn't look back. Closing the door behind him, he felt mixed emotions: anger, disappointment, and a strange feeling of liberation. He knew his life would never be the same, but this was the first step towards a new chapter where he would no longer be a victim. Walking along the city street at night, Alexei felt the coolness of the night air and heard the rustling of the deserted streets. He tried to collect his thoughts, but anger and disappointment mixed in his soul, giving him no peace. His steps echoed along the pavement, and his thoughts revolved around one thing: Olga's betrayal. Stopping at the edge of the sidewalk, Alexei took the keys to the handcuffs from his pocket. He looked at them as if they were a symbol of all his hurts and pain. The decision came suddenly. like a bolt from the blue. "Let her call Sergei, and he will save her," flashed through his head. Alexei walked up to the sewer grate and, without thinking for a second, threw the keys into the dark hole. They fell into the water with a quiet ringing sound, and Alexei felt relief. Now he was confident in his decision. His thoughts returned to Olga. If she really feels something for Sergei, then this will be a lesson for her, he thought. Alexei understood that his action might seem cruel, but he saw no other way out. He didn't want to be a toy in the wrong hands anymore. Continuing the walk, Alexei thought about what would happen next. Perhaps this was his first step towards a new life, where he would become stronger and more independent. He walked, leaving behind the shadows of the past, and knew that something new, something better, awaited him ahead. Returning home, Alexei felt a strange calm. He opened the door and walked inside, ready for a new beginning. Changes were ahead of him, and he was ready to meet them. When Alexei returned home, he felt silence and emptiness. He knew that Olga was still lying on the bed, handcuffed. He decided not to enter the room and went to the kitchen to drink a glass of water and collect his thoughts. He remembered how their relationship began to fall apart at the seams. Olga was often away spending time with Sergei, and he felt deceived and betrayed. Tonight was the culmination of his disappointment and pain. Alexei understood that he needed to move on, but it was not easy. Several hours passed, and Alexei decided to check how Olga was doing. He quietly opened the bedroom door and saw that she was already awake. Her eyes were full of anger and bewilderment. "You are crazy?" Olga shouted. "What did you do with the keys?" Alexei calmly answered, "I threw them away. Let Sergei come and save you if he is such a hero." Olga looked at him with hatred and distrust. "You've never been so cruel. What happened to you?" "I'm tired of being a toy in your hands," Alexei answered. "I needed to do this to understand that I would no longer allow myself to be manipulated." Olga fell silent, realizing that Alexei was serious. She realized that their relationship had reached a dead end, and this act became a cold shower for her. "I'll call Sergei," she said quietly. "Do what you want," Alexei answered. "I will no longer interfere in your life." Olga took out the phone and started calling Sergei, and Alexei left the room. He sat down in the living room, feeling the weight gradually lift from his shoulders. He understood that a difficult path lay ahead of him, but he was ready for it. After some time, Sergei arrived. He quickly freed Olga and, casting an angry glance at Alexei, took her out of the house. Alexei looked after them, realizing that this was the end of a chapter of his life. Several days passed. Alexei began to build a new life, free from deception and betrayal. He focused on his work, hobbies, and trying to find inner peace. He no longer felt like a victim, but rather felt empowered and confident. After the incident with Alex, Sergei comes to his senses, full of anger and thirst for revenge. He realizes that his pride and self-respect have been destroyed. Sergei decides that he cannot leave it like this and begins to plan his countermove. Sergei wakes up in his apartment feeling pain in his head from the blow that Alex gave him. He sits on the bed and holds his head, remembering the events of last night. His gaze turns cold and focused as he decides he won't let Alex get away with it. A few days later, Sergei meets with several of his old friends who are involved in business in the IT field. He knows that Alex is a nerd and a big tech enthusiast and decides to use this to his advantage. "Sergei, we need to find a way for Alex to understand that you can't play with fire and not get burned. I want him to feel what real pain and humiliation is." Friend 1. "We can hack his social media and post something incriminating there." Friend 2. "Or set him up at work and make him lose his reputation." Sergei. "Great, let's start with this. I want his world to start crumbling right before his eyes. Make him feel as vulnerable as he made me." They begin planning an operation to hack into Alex's accounts and find incriminating information. Sergei decides that he will not stop there. He wants Alex to lose everything that is dear to him. Sergei also begins to communicate with Alex's colleagues, trying to undermine his reputation at work. He spreads rumors that Alex is stealing ideas and data from his colleagues. This causes mistrust in Alex and creates a tense atmosphere in his workplace. Alex begins to notice that his accounts have been hacked, and he is being treated with suspicion at work. He tries to understand what is happening, but cannot find the source of his problems. Sergei, seeing the first successes of his plan, feels satisfied. He knows that this is just the beginning and is ready to continue until Alex is completely broken. Sergei: "This is just the beginning, Alex. You will learn what it means to play with fire. I promise you that." At this point, the story is just beginning to unfold, and Sergei has a lot to do to bring his revenge plan to an end. Alexei, having learned about Sergei's actions, remains calm and decides to act with a cool head. He calls his friends who were always ready to help him in difficult times. Alexei: "Guys, we have a problem. Sergei decided to play dangerous games with me. I want you to explain to him that this is a bad idea." Friend 1: "We got you, Alexei. We'll take care of it." Friend 2: "Don't worry. He'll understand not to mess with you." In the evening, Alexei's friends, strong guys with a hooligan past, are waiting for Sergei at his house. Sergei, suspecting nothing, returns home and runs into them. Friend 1: "Hey Sergei, we have a conversation with you." Sergei: "What do you need?" Friend 2: "Alexei says that he is aware of your games. We advise you to stop trying to harm him. Next time, everything will be much worse." Sergei tries to argue something, but seeing the determination in the eyes of these guys, he understands that it is better not to enter into conflict. Sergei: "Okay, I understand. Tell Alexei that I am retreating." Alexei's friends retreat, making sure that their message has reached Sergei. They return to Alexei and report on the work done. Friend 1: "Everything is ready. Sergei realized that there is no point in messing with you." Friend 2: "Now he's unlikely to try again." Alexei: "Thanks, guys. I hope this is the end. If anything changes, I'll let you know." Alexei returns to his life, confident that Sergei will no longer try to harm him. He understands that it is important not only to respond to threats, but also to have the support of those who are ready to help in difficult moments. After these events, Sergei and Olga decide to leave this city because now they are afraid that Alexei may take revenge on them for a very long time. Alexei, after learning that Olga and Sergei left the city, finally begins the new life he dreamed of, but Olga prevented him from starting.